Life is Strange was one of 2015's biggest surprises, managing to somehow balance an introspective look at high school and life with a healthy dose of the supernatural and the strange. Even if some of it felt a little cringy or just downright ridiculous at times.
I can't believe Firewalk is playing a show at the old mill. Yes.
For this new 3-episode prequel series called Before the Storm, the Strange is dialed way back with the life part cranked right up to full. And the result after one episode? Well, it's actually a pleasant surprise so far. Credit to the new developers Deck 9 for not dropping the ball when it was thrown into their lap. Rather than go in an entirely new direction, which is what the original developers Don't Nod are doing with the proper Life is Strange 2, Before the Storm embraces the familiar and is grounded even further into something that almost everyone can relate to: shit-stirring teenage angst. That familiarity extends to the art direction and look of Before the Storm, which is still its Achilles heel. The original Life is Strange wasn't exactly the best looking or the best performing game ever made, and while Before the Storm improves on both those aspects, it still looks and plays like it was, well, I don't want to say beaten, maybe lightly tapped with the ugly stick. Put it this way, it won't be winning any Most Handsome awards this year. As it usually goes with narrative-driven games, there's not really much about Before the Storm's gameplay for me to fluff up either. But there is one new feature that is worth mentioning. Since Before the Storm tells a different type of story compared to Life is Strange, the original game's supernatural time rewind mechanic has been scrapped in favour of a new and more grounded backtalk feature, which is essentially a minigame involving a whole heap of shit-talking.
What's clear is you.
What you do is pick out the correct comeback to each response thrown your way.
Language?
It is actually quite fun since you get to lob high school level insults back and forth with people ranging from dead shit weed dealers to stick up their ass authority figures. And I actually think it works better than Life is Strange's time rewind mechanic.
Let me dumb it down for you. I mean, sorry. What has fewer syllables than dumb?
It's a lot less forgiving since you can't retry every conversation. So even though there's no end of the town disaster looming at the end of each decision made, every choice seems more important than usual. Unless you're the type of person who likes to reload a save every time they make a mistake.
What the hell did you just say to me?
Even when you screw up the comebacks and disappoint your high school self all over again, the insults at least give you a little bit of extra insight into the characters. So beyond telling characters to go f themselves, there is a lot to be gleaned from this backtalk mechanic.
Defending Nathan Prescott?
How about picking on someone your own size?
Of course, talking about cutting-edge gameplay or groundbreaking graphics in a game like Before the Storm, it's kinda like asking why there's no bacon on a vegetarian burger. You're kinda missing the whole point of it, aren't you?
The question is, are Miranda's feelings of instant passion for Ferdinand just inexperience in dramatic circumstances, or has she actually just met the love of her life?
What I really need to talk about is the narrative and characters, which is where Before the Storm really shines. Sometimes even more than the first Life is Strange.
Miranda's an idiot because falling in love is stupid. What is she, 12? You sure you don't want to just grab the bus?
The main character of Life is Strange, Max, is sidelined in favor of her wannabe punk best friend, Chloe Price, and Chloe's relationship with a never-before-seen, yet incredibly important character/plot device from the original game, Rachel Amber. You would think that a 20-something-year-old Asian guy would have no idea when it comes to understanding two teenage girls. And you'd be right, actually. But when it comes to Chloe and Rachel, they are two of the most relatable fictional characters in recent memory. Sometimes painfully so, since you have a direct hand in shaping how Chloe is and who she ultimately ends up as.
If you could travel anywhere, where would you go?
Chloe and Rachel's relationship was only alluded to in Life is Strange, so there's a lot to unpack in Before the Storm. But credit to Deck 9, the writers have managed to not only tell an intriguing story of how these two idiots met, they were also able to turn Rachel Amber into an interesting character, who at this point was really nothing more than just a myth who was put on a pedestal and then worshipped like a cow in India.
2 truths and a lie. You say 3 things.
Right. I'm a Leo. Meow.
Not an easy task when you consider that Rachel Amber was originally nothing more than a list of ideas from the original game. And I also have to give props to the writers for managing to give Chloe extra layers to her character on top of what already you know of her from Life is Strange. The awkwardness of high school, the angsty rebellion, and the ease at which each character's teenage
Give me a
defensive
break,
walls
Max.
get
I've heard of
unraveled is
tabletop
all
games.
beautifully captured in Before the Storm.
Cool.
It's a deep dive into the events and the pivotal relationship with Rachel that shaped Chloe as we know her in Life is Strange, and it is all done brilliantly. Chloe is your classic angsty, rebellious teenager with daddy issues, and Rachel is your classic popular
use a
girl
drink after
with
trying to
daddy
keep up
issues
with you.
and a little bit of darkness thrown in for good measure. But through the course of this 3-hour episode, you quickly understand just why they connect with each other in a sort of weird yin and yang, manic pixie dream girl kind of way.
Right.
No wonder your mother's worried about you.
The thing with
that's
prequels
sweet.
is that they're always a risky prospect. There's a chance that prequels may negate some of the impact of the original games by recontextualizing events and characters in a way that lessens their importance or role. And like how pointless Rogue One was to the Star Wars mythology, there's also the fact that prequels can sometimes tell a story that either doesn't really need to be told or doesn't really enrich the source material with a new perspective. But for Before the Storm, it sidesteps these possible issues with enough swiftness to make Lionel Messi jealous. Playing as Chloe is a fascinating experience because the more time you spend with her, the more you understand what makes her tick. And each of these ticks adds a little bit more depth to what we already know of her from Life is Strange. Deck 9 could have easily phoned it in and pissed off an entire fandom, but
Because
thank
you're
God they
not
worked their
real.
asses off for this one. Each text message, journal entry,
We're
and
at the end of the
conversation
campaign,
choice
so
sheds a
it'll
little
only
light
take,
on
like,
just how
20
much of a
minutes.
vulnerable
What else
and
have you got to
confused
do for
teenager
fun?
she really is. Something that is hinted at in the original game. And all this really fleshes out just why Chloe is drawn to Rachel in the first place, and why she ultimately acts the way she does in Life is Strange. Case in point, the original Life is Strange had Chloe use the word hella as some sort of catchphrase. Yes,
used to
it's
want to
kind of
be a
stupid,
pirate when I grew
but
up.
its origins are far from it.
Kinda still do.
You find out in Before the Storm that the word actually originates from Rachel, and Chloe adopts it as a result of their relationship.
You're hella mysterious, Chloe Price.
Hella? Who says that?
It's a Callie thing.
It's really heartbreaking in retrospect
talk
because we
business.
know that Rachel eventually goes missing, and she disappears out of Chloe's life forever.
You know, like,
It's insightful and sad in the same way that humans are more likely to die from getting crushed by a vending machine than getting attacked by a shark. Even if you've never played Life is Strange, everything is done so well that newcomers can play Before the Storm and still get hooked in by the characters and lore. And you really can't ask for much more than that for a prequel.
What's stopping us?
On paper, Before the Storm had a heap of things going against it. A new developer who hasn't really done anything noteworthy, a change in voice actress for Chloe, a new point of view, and a story that fans weren't exactly clamoring for.
I'm serious.
But there's definitely nothing strange about this tale of life because it has everything that made the original Life is Strange great, and then some more on top of that. If the quality shown in episode 1 is any indication of what's to come for the next 2 installments, there's much to look forward to in Chloe's and Rachel's growing and ultimately tragic relationship.